Dog Talk. We hope everyone's safe and healthy, and we have a very special guest today. I'm going to say Cameo, but I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'm going to let you do
No worries. No worries.
I'm Jenna Moser,
Yeah,
joined by Michelle, and here's Cameo.
so Cameo, formerly Hicks, but now Klarin-Smiljanic.
Oh yeah, so we would have definitely butchered that.
It doesn't.
Cam, that sounded really, really nice, Cam. We're thrilled to have you, and like we said, I think it's just so important for us to make sure that we keep the alums connected. But more than anything, like now that I'm back coaching there, I want our players to know who you are. Like I want recruits to know who you are. You were so legendary at Washington, and what you did for the program and really helping keep Washington on the map and take them to tournaments and whatnot. It's important for people to know who you are, even if you're all the way across the world, So we have Cameo, formerly Hicks, on with us today, you guys. And Cam is all over the record books. 1,000-point scorer, all Pac-10 first team multiple times. Captain, you were captain, I think 3 times, Cam, right? 3 years?
2, yeah.
2? Okay. You're all over the record books. Jenna and I were laughing. She's like, yeah, I was reading about Cameo, and there's just pages and pages and pages. I'm like, she did everything. We're super excited to have you, Cam, and just give us a little bit of I guess what happened when you left Washington. You continued to play, where you played, what you've been up to. Obviously, you live in Dubai now, you said, but just kind of give us a little bit of a rundown of what you've been up to.
Yeah, well, again, thank you both so much for having me. It's definitely great to be here. I'd love to get reconnected with you guys, the alumni, the team, because I have been feeling disconnected just purely based on distance. Haven't been able to join any alumni games. Haven't been able to get back for any, Hall of Fame inductions and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a great platform. I really appreciate it. And I'm really happy to be here, share my experience. Thanks for the recap. I have not walked down memory lane in a while. It's definitely nice to think about those memories. I'm super proud to be here, and I'm proud to be an alumni. So again, thanks so much for having me. But so my story since I left, there's a long version and a short one. I'll try to sum it up nicely. So I graduated in 2007, which now I can't believe it's been so long. But immediately after graduation, I headed overseas to play professionally. I started in Switzerland, so I played 3 years in Switzerland, and that was great because I was able to travel all over Europe. We played in the Euro Cup 2 times, and that was nice experience because when are you going to get to travel Europe, play basketball, and get to live those experiences? So that was wonderful time in Switzerland. Even though when you say Switzerland, basketball is not really what comes to mind, but because we had this a bit ambitious program and we played Euro Cup, we also played Swiss League during the weekends. We traveled Europe during the week, so it was a really, really great experience. And then after 3 years in Switzerland, I switched gears and went to the Italian league, which is an incredibly competitive league. I joined up with 2 of our former arch rivals from Stanford, Jill Harmon and Brooke Smith. I played with them. I played with Jill for 2 years. I played with Brooke for 1 year. And despite what I thought in college, they are amazing people. And really, really had a great time with them. But then while I was in Switzerland, actually, I met my husband, and I never left. So that's the reason I haven't been back stateside in a while. I've been visiting family. But when I finished my second year in Italy, I was really feeling it was time to switch gears. I had we had gotten married at that point in my last year in Italy, and I was thinking, I have this business degree from UW, what's next for me? I decided to stop playing in the Italian league, even though it was wonderful. I found a lot of success in the Italian league. But I went back to the Swiss league. It was a less competitive league at the time. We didn't have any ambitious projects, so we were just strictly playing in the Swiss Cup. And I was actually given the opportunity to work and play.
Cool.
So that was the agreement with my team. So it was the perfect kind of segue into a working, kind of a new ways of working. So transitioning, from the court to the office. So it gave me a really good time to transition at a time where I knew I was ready to stop playing and really could commit myself fully to working, because after 6 years of playing, it was a great opportunity. Basketball gave me the education. It gave me lots of opportunities to travel. But I knew I was ready for the next step, and I'm very grateful. And I had no regrets about any of that. Then we moved to Dubai. My husband got an opportunity here. We moved to Dubai. Oh, and I had 2 kids, by the way, in the meantime.
Yeah, just that little thing.
Small detail, yeah, small detail. So I did have 2 kids in Switzerland who are now 3 and 5, and they definitely keep us on our toes.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Is Slaven in the sports world too, Cam?
Yeah, he is actually. That's how we met. He was also a professional basketball player at the time in the Swiss league. So my husband Slaven, he's originally from Croatia, but spent a lot of his childhood in Switzerland, went to school in Switzerland, also actually played basketball at the collegiate level at Texas State. Graduated from Texas State, then went back to Switzerland, and he played 10 years professionally.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So it's quite an experience. When I look back on it now, it's really, really nice to think about.
Yeah, and how's Dubai? Is it what everybody makes it out to be? Everyone thinks it's like the coolest place. Is it awesome?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it is awesome.
That's so cool.
It did take me some getting used to it. I mean, it's definitely new, but it's absolutely like Disneyland for kids and for adults. It's amazing. I mean, and there's such a wonderful community here. I mean, the UAE in general, it's a wonderful, wonderful country. It's so safe, so secure. It's so, clean, like even small things that, when you have kids, if you're going out with them, are you going to find a family-friendly restaurant? Are you going to be able to find bathrooms to change them? Like little things that you think about once you're a mother, and you never have to second guess that in UAE. You can do everything. They have everything set up for kids. The kids are loving it there. It's like summertime almost year round. They're on the beach. They're in the pool. They're in play places. They're so it's been really, really a great experience. So we've been here almost 2 years now, and let's see how many more. Who knows?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I don't know, Jay, maybe we need to change our foreign trip to Dubai. I don't know.
I know.
Hey, I can work that. I can work on that. I can work on that for you guys.
Yeah, I'm in. We were supposed to go, Cam, we were supposed to go to Spain and France this summer for our foreign trip, and obviously it got canceled because of the COVID. So we're gonna go, I think, next August. But yeah, I don't know. Dubai sounds like it might be better.
I only know it from like the Apple TV background, where I'm like, I've practically been there.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely recommend it for a visit. I mean, it's so super family friendly. You have something for everyone. And we've just had the best time. It's been the best experience ever. So I would definitely recommend it.
Wow, cool. Wow, that's so great to hear. That's awesome. Well, thank you for giving us the background, Cam, of where you're at, how you got to be there today. Let's talk a little bit about you growing up and kind of getting to UW. What other sports did you play growing up, and why did you end up choosing basketball in the long run?
Oh man, I did it all when I was younger. I mean, I started in dance. the first recital, I cried the whole time on stage. So my parents thought maybe she's not a dancer. So then, I tried gymnastics, I did soccer, I did softball, I did track, like anything my parents could put me in, I did. I did karate for a number of years. So they really just threw me into whatever. And I started playing basketball when I was about 10 years old. And basketball right away basketball actually and karate at the time kind of became my main sports. I was doing those. Well, actually, I was also doing some track. So I just I was in whatever the school would let me in, I did it. And then finally in high school, I also played volleyball. So in high school, I was a two-sport athlete. And, I think I really chose basketball because, to be very frank and very honest, I got a lot of, positive feedback, from my teammates, from, people watching, from my parents. They saw that there was just something about the game that I really loved and really, gave the extra effort to. And that's kind of really why I became so serious about it. But I think today it's so important for kids to kind of try multiple things. It's super important because I think now people, they see the great professional athletes on TV. They see that as the example, and they think the earlier they focus their child, the better they will be, which I definitely, it could very well be the case. Maybe LeBron James only played basketball since he was 2, probably. I don't know. But I definitely think that, LeBron James is one person in how many billions. So I think it's smart for parents to expose their kids to a lot of different things, which my parents did. Like I said, they threw everything at me. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, Jenna and I think we've had this conversation a couple of times now. We were talking to Kayla about it too, but we are all about the multi-sport athletes because I think it just makes you so well-rounded, and then, you don't burn out, right? And there's just other things to keep it kind of fresh. And it's so, most kids are so sport specific now. And, you talk to a kid and they're like, oh, do you do anything else? Nope, I just train all year round for basketball. And I'm like, oh man, that's great. Like if you love it like that, but I'm a little worried that by the time you get to the collegiate level, you're going to be like, oh man, this is just such a job, So,
exactly. Yeah.
True. No,
I just attention span for a kid. I'm like, my attention span is not long right now. If I was 7, I could not dedicate myself.
And I think also with other sports, every sport, there's a specific skill, there's a specific, it's, also adapting to different situations of pressure. I know, for example, karate, that's like when you're one-on-one with someone, that's a completely different pressure when you have, kind of a team behind you. And, same with track, it's kind of you out there, really pushing yourself, really. So I think, team sports, individual sports, whether it's with a bat and a ball or just a ball or whatever, I think, there's always an important skill to be learned in any sport.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, so Cameo, after you did decide on basketball, what made you choose UW? How was your recruiting process, and what was it about UW that you were like, that's the one?
Yeah, that's really, really a good question because I think about that a lot myself. And, whenever I was looking for advice anywhere because, what we commit when we're 16, 17. And, when you're at that age, it's a really kind of daunting thing to say, okay, this is where I'm going to choose to kind of spend away from my family for 4 years. So I was really asking a lot of questions. And the answer I got, I was never satisfied. I always got, well, you'll just know. And I never felt that was an acceptable answer. Even, becoming a mother. So how do I know when they're sick? Or, well, you'll just know. And honestly, I think that it was it is in the end absolutely right, because I had all of my 5 visits, official visits that we were allowed. I'm not sure if the rules have changed at all, but back in the early 2000s, we were allowed 5 official visits to each school. So I had all my 5 official visits scheduled. Washington was number 2. On that list, and I knew that going into that whole process, I knew that at the end of the process, okay, you're going to have to make a decision. Would actually be fine with any of these 5 schools, because I've done my research. I know that academically, it's a good school. They have a very competitive program, so I knew whatever I chose, I would be fine. So that was very comforting going into the process, and I think it's very important for any of the new recruits to really do their research. But on the second, when I came to UW on my second visit, I just received such a warm reception. I remember Kristen O'Neill was my host, and she was the absolute sweetest. I had the opportunity to really connect with the coaches. Shimmy Gray and Sunny Smallwood were the assistants at the time, and Mike and June Doherty were the head coaches, and I created such a great connection with those 4. And I was able to play open gym. I felt really challenged, but I also felt kind of accepted, and I felt that they really wanted me to help me and to do well. And that was also a wonderful, kind of nurturing feeling that I had about the team. And I think the school speaks for itself. I mean, I knew that I wanted to go into business, even at a young age, and the business school at UW is amazing. And yeah, so like I said, I just had that feeling. I knew when I was on my visit. We were at dinner with Mike and June, and and my parents were there. I didn't even tell my parents. I just said, okay, I think I'm coming here, and that was it. And I canceled the rest of my 3 official visits, and
wow,
this is history. Yeah, I mean, I really went into the process saying I want to give all 5 of these schools a fair chance, but I felt like UW, it just felt so right to me in the moment, and I just jumped on it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it hasn't changed, Cam. We still get 5 visits.
Okay, I thought maybe I was getting a little too old. I wasn't sure.
No, you're good.
Good.
But a lot of kids are the same. Like they're like, I'm going to take all my visits. I'm going to, you got to wait it out, kind of thing. And I feel like more often than not, that happens. I think it's kind of rare for a kid to take all 5, because it's exhausting, like it's such a long weekend and all the whining and dining. It's amazing, but it's like, man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and then you have school too, right? I think the weekend before, I went all the way to Boston. I'm like, okay, I know I'm not doing East Coast schools. That's like a 6-hour flight from California. I'm just to be able to see my family, okay, I know that's not for me. And Cal was right up there on my list. They were in my backyard. I thought, okay, maybe that's a little too close. But everything about Washington was just really, really perfect for me at the time.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right, so you choose UW, and you finally get to campus as a freshman. What's your oh shoot moment? Like, I am not in high school anymore.
How many
the reaction?
How many do you? I mean, I have many.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's starting from the first one. It was really, my parents dropping me off at the dorms for the first time. We actually did me, Maggie O'Hara, and Dominique Banks. We did a summer program. I think it was. I forget what the program was called, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Bridge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did that program. So my parents got me settled in the dorms, and then they left. And that was my first oh shoot.
Oh no, yeah.
And it's like at the first, okay, so now I can go out. I don't have to call anyone to tell them where I'm going or what time I'm going to be back. I mean, it's a little bit, it's liberating at first, but then you realize okay, I'm gonna have to cook for myself. I need to go grocery shopping. I need to, plus I have this new schedule of classes and, workouts and open gyms and, council meetings. It was really kind of like, oh shoot, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So that was number one. The second one, I think, coming into UW, I was like 5'10". I mean, it's written 5'10". I think I'm closer to 5'9". I was 130 pounds. I was skinny. I was like doing bicep curls and leg extensions, and I thought that was like preparation. And so then I had a very rude awakening the first day. Brett, who was our trainer at the time, and I was like, "You want me to lift that? How many times?" So that was another like, okay, I'm gonna have to really transform, my body if I'm gonna want to be able to compete, at a very high level. And another one is like when I just received the playbook. I mean, we received like a book like that. We had to study, and I'm like, we just ran motion in high school. What's wrong with that? So that was another like, okay, that's really the moment when you recognize that, you being a good player is important, but you really have to be a student of the game, and know where you're supposed to be on the court, know where your teammates are supposed to be on the court, because you never know when you are going to have to fill their role, or they're going to have to fill yours. So just knowing all 5 positions. I mean, even for me, I actually played all 5 positions at one point or another. I mean, I remember one time where I think Maggie O'Hara got hurt on a play or something, and we didn't have anyone to fill in for her. And like, June was like, "Cam, run the 5." I'm like, okay. So I think, just being a student of the game was really important. But that playbook was like, oh shoot, this is not going to be easy. And then I had one of those like, oh shoot moments actually in one of the games. I was a freshman. I had already a few preseason games under my belt, but we actually went down to play the University of Arizona one game. And at the time, there was a girl by the name of Chantalise Polk. And not many people may remember her, because so sadly her career was cut so short, because I think it was like in 2005 or something. She had just had, a surgery on her knee, and then there was a bit of a complication. She had a blood clot in her lung, and so sadly passed away. But I mean, Chantalise was an absolute force. I've never seen anything like her. I mean, she was 6'6", 225, and I think one time I tried maybe to do a pull-up jumper from the free throw line, and she was on the block, and I thought I could shoot it, but she just like moved so quick and blocked me. I'm like, okay, this is gonna require a little bit more thought about how I played against her. But she was unbelievable, and that was just kind of like, okay, you're gonna see many of these players in your career, so definitely be ready. And that's just a few of those moments that I had, as a freshman.
Yeah.
Those are great. I think we can relate to a lot of
that. I was absolutely shocked at what a skilled player she was, and I think she was also a freshman of the like Pac-10 freshman of the year or something like that. She was amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so then you get in the flow of things, maybe not in your freshman year, whatever. Anytime in your career, did you have a favorite game you played in? Because you were in a couple NCAA tournaments, correct? And so that process, what game or games were your favorite to play?
So I think, there was a few, to be very honest, there's not many games that I remember very vividly, because, and I think any of us that will tell you, we don't really remember maybe how many wins or losses that we had, or how many points we scored, or whatever, but it's more the, just the overall feeling, the camaraderie, the overall experience that you had. But there were definitely there's always a few that stick out. And one of those was definitely beating Stanford at home, because Stanford for us was like kryptonite my entire career. And I know you guys are laughing because it's so true. I mean, they are so tough every year, and we beat them at home. And I thought the roof was just going to blow off of Heck Ed, I think the stadium's changed now, hasn't it? Or the arena.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I just remember that was such a great game to be a part of. The fans were nuts. They were going absolutely crazy because, so many of them had never seen that for such a long time. So that was definitely, a very memorable game. Another memorable game for me was when we played Notre Dame. I think we played Notre Dame a few times. We played once at home when I was a freshman. And that was a really, really fun game because that, you hear about Notre Dame, Muffet McGraw, the coach, so many of the good players. But it just seems like almost untouchable. But then when you actually get there and you're in the game and you're competing against them, that was a really, really memorable game for me as well. And so, one of the NCAA tournament games that was one of the most memorable for me was when we played LSU in the second round. LSU, they were so tough. I mean, they had probably two of the greatest collegiate players ever in Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles. I mean, they were so good. But we, up until I think probably midway through the second half, we were right there with them. I mean, we were playing them so tough. I mean, Sylvia, she was in foul trouble, but I mean, I will take it anyways. We were right there with them neck and neck. And, they ended up, they pulled away from the game, towards the end. Sylvia, she just became, unstoppable. And they ended up being a Final Four team that year. So that was also a really memorable game. We knew we could hang right there with the teams. We were missing, a few pieces to really get us over the hump. But anyways, we had a great run that I was really proud of.
That's so cool. We laughed, Cam, when you said Stanford because every alum that we've had on has mentioned Stanford. It's like everyone's like, oh, I hate Stanford. I mean,
let me change my answer to that. I mean, ASU. I hated ASU.
Yeah.
But oh, yeah. I'm not going to talk about that memory. But ASU, we had a few really, really, what's the word? Combative games with ASU, like physical.
They always had so many Washington kids on their roster too. So it was always like this, all these kids left to go down to ASU. And it was, they were always, really physical and just, it was, I agree with you with that. That's funny. But Stanford, respectfully, they're amazing, but there is something about just like wanting to, beat Stanford.
We could create another.
But what's so funny? I remember when I was playing with Brooke and Jill in Como.
Yeah.
We would always, talk about this, okay, so, what team did you really hate and what team did you really hate? And, I was trying to be nice. I'm like, we didn't like ASU and, we didn't like them. And then, but I'll be honest, we didn't really like you guys all that much. We didn't like you either. So they don't like us as much as we don't like them. Okay, or that's probably the wrong word. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's transition a little bit to some of the fun stuff, Cam. Any funny memories that stick out to you with the girls? I mean, there's probably unlimited, but any ones that stick out?
Yeah. I mean, you were there, Michelle. I played with you for a year.
Yeah,
so I think we had a great last year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's so many things. Like, I mean, we just had some absolute nuts on our team. Like Jill Bell, one of the funniest people that I have ever met. It made me laugh daily.
Yeah.
One funny memory that really sticks out to me was we were flying home from one of the games. I don't remember if it was the NCAA tournament or the Pac-10 tournament, but it was us on the plane. It was our staff. It was some of the band members. They were so awesome. They were on the plane. Some of the cheer squad were on the plane. So I'm thinking it could have been an NCAA tournament. And we were coming back, and it was obviously we were coming back to Seattle. We had just lost. And I never felt great after a loss. It would always take me a little while to kind of shrug off a loss. And so we were sitting on the plane. I was in the corner. I had my headphones on, like they were noise canceling, so I didn't hear anything. Had my eyes closed. And in one moment, I opened my eyes. I don't know what made me do it. I opened my eyes, and I see Jill Bell doing the wildest dance down the middle of the aisle, like Soul Train style. And I'm just like looking at her like, what now? What is she? I'm just thinking, okay, what made her do that? So I can't hear anything, right? Because I have my noise canceling headphones off. I take them off, and like the band is backing her up like in a full song. I'm just like, she just always had a way. She made me laugh every single day, and really helped pull me out of some really kind of bad funks that I was in. But she did stuff like that daily, so that's just one of them. I think also June had some pretty funny moments. I mean, she was a wonderful, wonderful lady. And we had one trip where we were driving down to Wazoo, and which is normally a bus trip. We were an hour into the trip, and we started to smell something in the back of the bus, like something burning or something. So we go up to tell the bus driver, there's something wrong with the bus. And so he pulls over the bus. I think we're on the side of the highway. He's checking it out, and he's like, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to change the bus. And June is like, will this bus make it to the outlet mall down the road? So she just insisted that we got that bus to the outlet mall, so at least we can walk around and, get some shopping in. Because anyone that knows June knows she's a very, very stylish lady. She loved to shop. And so that was, just made me laugh so much, because it was so her, like, of course, she wanted to make sure everything was okay, but first question: can this bus get to the outlet? So just, those are just kind of the few moments that I can think of off the top of my head.
I love that. That's hilarious. Okay, let's pivot a little bit into your proudest moment. Is there, are there a few? We don't like to narrow it down to just one.
That's a little hard, yeah.
Yeah, I know. The one moment you're proud of.
No. I think there's definitely a few. I would probably say my number one proudest moment. This is actually the first time that I can remember like crying tears of joy, is when I was accepted in early admission in the business school. Like for me, that was like a moment. I was so happy. I was so relieved, because I had no plan B. Like I'm going to UW. I'm going to the business school, and it's a really, really competitive school. And I knew I had another chance, my junior year to try to get in or apply, but I really wanted to make sure kind of that monkey was off my back. And really, really thankfully I got in. So I was so happy. I remember, June kind of, usually you get a letter sent home, but the dean of admissions had actually called June to tell her, and she just couldn't contain herself. She couldn't wait. So she told me, and I called my mom, and I'm crying, and she's crying, and I had to go to practice. And that was really, really a proud moment for me. And then another one, I think probably when I was nominated as team captain. Because true or not, in that moment I felt kind of reassured that I was setting the right example, and that my teammates trusted me and my dedication, and that I could really be relied on in tough moments if anyone needed something. that was really, really great. And I had a great co-captain, Erica Shelley. She was amazing. She was the kindest, most genuine person ever. And that just made it great to kind of tag team with her. So that was a really, really proud moment for me. I mean, of course, a few, individual ones, like I was on the all freshman team as a freshman. That's nice. I mean, we're all in team sports. We all know that the individual accolades don't mean as much as the team accolades and what you can achieve as a team. But still, it's always reassuring. Just knowing you're doing the right thing. So that was great. And another really proud moment for me is actually when I was voted president of WASAC. I don't know if it's even still existed or if it's still called WASAC.
Yeah, it's still there, Cam.
Yeah, so I was actually president of WASAC for 2 years, and I'm not sure if many people took that group seriously, but I took it very seriously. I was proud that not only my teammates trusted me to be a representative for them, but other student athletes trusted me to kind of safeguard their interests and concerns, liaise with the administrators, and create opportunities for student athletes that allowed us to give back to the community. So I took that job, very, very seriously, and I absolutely loved it.
That's cool. Hey, Joe. Good morning.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was like, we have a guest. Hi, Jody. How are you?
I'm great. So good to see you.
Yeah. Same. It's been a while.
It has. I remember recruiting you.
Yeah, at Pepperdine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I remember. Congratulations on the Washington job. Happy to have you as a Husky.
Yeah, it's great to be a Husky. I wish we had you on the floor.
I mean, hey, if you have a spot open, I'm happy to. I've been out of the game a while, but I'm sure I could get back into shape.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure you're still great, Cam.
I know.
No, I mean, hearing some of those proud moments, though, Cam, what stood out to me is that most of them aren't really basketball related. And I think that that's awesome because a lot of the people we've talked to have echoed that, graduating is really important. Like you said, early admit to the business school. And I think for younger,
by the way,
yeah, Jenna wasn't
later, and it was so stressful.
Yeah. It's a stressful time. It absolutely is, because you just know what type of program it is, the doors it can open for you, the network it can create. And it is absolutely stressful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very proud moment for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, we're flip-flopping back and forth here, but back to some basketball stuff. Worst conditioning sesh, Cam. Let's see if she echoes what someone else said. Let's see if
I'm sure because we were all complaining about this same exact thing. 12-200 test for me was awful. Mm-hmm. It was awful.
Yeah.
The beep test was awful.
There it is. I was waiting for you to say the beep test. Yeah.
The beep test was awful.
Oh.
I always ran until I passed out, but I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm not sure how many people remember this from our team, but we had 6 a.m. water polo for a long time. Water polo was super hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we had a moment in our team where about 5 girls, myself included, were getting stress fractures on our foot. On our feet, and so about 5 of us. So they were thinking that they came and did tests on the floors and everything. So I mean, we literally could not run these big conditioning sessions. So we did these 6 a.m. water polo conditioning sessions, and I'll tell you, it's harder than because when you're just treading water and sprinting and swimming for an hour, it was really, really tough. And actually, surprisingly, I felt in great shape, once we were able to run and get on the court again. So
in other words,
I don't want to give Jody any ideas.
No, Jody loves that.
Yeah. When we were at Long Beach State, I did so much conditioning in the pool because it was just so easy to get in and out. We didn't have the IMA people like here trying to.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea.
Yeah, water polo instead of just swimming, Joe.
No, we would do water polo at Long Beach State for the fun Fridays sometimes.
Oh, that doesn't. I mean, okay, it can be fun if you.
If it wasn't at 6 a.m. we would do
Okay. I'm like, okay.
that.
Like, okay, it could be fun if you like were not. Yeah.
If you
It
can
wasn't
do
at
that.
6 a.m.
If you weren't being threatened by drowning.
Right, exactly. And I think actually, I mean, I'm sorry if I don't want to like throw them under the bus or anything, but I think Jill Bell and Angie Jones maybe said that they weren't able to swim, and I'm not sure if that was true or not, but actually Brett made them do activities on the side of the pool that were even harder than water polo. I was like, are you sure you can't swim?
Yeah.
But that was really good times.
That's awesome.
Oh, okay. Our next question is your biggest inspiration, and it can be basketball, life, both, and again, you can have multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a lot, I've been really lucky throughout my journey. I think initially, definitely my parents were my inspiration. They had me, my mom was 17, still in high school. My dad had just turned 20. He was playing football at a community college, and, they both sacrificed a lot for me and went through some very difficult times. I'm sure that they never shared with me. So they worked really hard to make sure that I could live out the experience that they probably both wanted, as teenagers or young adults. So they inspired me really to work hard every day just so I could have the opportunity to play basketball, get a college education, travel the world, have all of these amazing experiences. I mean, thinking about it now, my mom I even went to school with my mom. And, I'm 35 now, and I'm trying to imagine, one of my children, now as an 18-year-old, a freshman in college, unimaginable for me. So that would definitely initially it was them for sure. Then when I arrived at UW, as a freshman, you're not always really sure what to expect. But I found myself with some incredible role models, including Juliana Mendiola, who had just received the Pac-10 Player of the Year. And, for me to have someone that was so experienced, so talented, and really one of the hardest workers you will ever meet, it doesn't take, after having that example, it doesn't take long for you to figure out, okay, what's needed, what you have to do. You just follow her lead. So I think that's really, really, really important. And you mentioned you talked to Kayla. I think Kayla's someone who faced a lot of adversity in her career, and for me, she was really a constant reminder that being able to walk out on the floor every day is an unbelievable gift, shouldn't be taken for granted. When she came back, it meant so much for our team, but when she was forced, to retire for a second time, I will never forget that. I was sitting right next to her on the bench in timeout, and I don't even remember who we were playing, if we won or lost, but at one moment in the timeout, she kind of just jumps out of her seat, and she grabs my arm, and I look at her, and she just in complete shock. And then she walked over to the trainer immediately, and went to UW Medical, and we did our best to focus on the game, but in the back of our minds, I think we all knew that there are some things that are bigger than basketball, and I respected Kayla so much for all of her effort, her comeback, and everything she wanted to give to the team. So she was also a great role model. I mean, not just for me, but I'm sure she's just an inspirational person, to everyone that she meets or everyone that hears her story. I mean, fast forward to now, I mean, I think my children are now definitely an inspiration for me. My son, he's 5, and my daughter's 3. And they definitely inspire patience and understanding for sure. But, for my husband and I, the ultimate goal is to nurture, happy, healthy, kind, inquisitive people. And with that in goal in mind, it inspires us to, you know, be better, work harder, set good examples for them, you know, give them, you know, all of the opportunities that, you know, you would have wanted for yourself when you were younger. So they are definitely that. And I have, like, you know, there's a few aspirational people like, you know, Kobe Bryant, Michelle Obama. I think, you know, aspirational people for me are really important because they have that platform. When you see them using the platform, you know, in such a positive way, you can, you know, really learn a lot. I mean, Michelle Obama, she carries herself with such class and elegance. She's so well spoken, you know, advocating for youth, young girls, child literacy. You know, I think these things are very important. It's good to have these role models, even though you can't touch them, you can't feel them. But it's great to really see them using their platform in that way. So those are a few of mine.
Yeah, that's
Great.
awesome. Yeah. Well, that segues us perfectly into the next question, Cam, about leadership. I mean, I was only with you for a year, but I can attest to you being a phenomenal leader. You know,
Thank you,
I think
Michelle.
I think one thing that stands out to me about you, and I'll let you answer it for yourself, but is that you were so humble. You know, you never were better than anybody or, you know, greater than the moment kind of thing. And I think for me coming in as a transfer, I remember being like, oh my God, like Cameo's so good. And I don't even know if she'll talk to me, you know, like, and you were amazing. I mean, you still are, but like you were just an incredible teammate. And I think, leader, like you said, I mean, you instilled so much in us, you know, as teammates, and your work ethic spoke for itself, you know, and people wanted to be better for you, you know, and I think that, yeah, you were amazing. But what type of leader would you say you were then and maybe now to this day?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that, just because, you know, I think all of my teammates and all of my coaches maybe had their own opinion of the type of leader that I was, but, you know, I only know the type of leader that I tried to be. And, you know, I really appreciate, you know, your words, because that's exactly what I tried to do. You know, I tried to be humble, and I definitely tried to lead by example. You know, I always had a very strong sense of accountability, whether it was a game, a practice, a test. You know, I always wanted to do well, and, you know, I knew that I was ultimately the one that was responsible for the outcome, good or bad. So I really just wanted to lead by example. I mean, I don't think that I was the most vocal leader, you know, yelling all the time. Maybe you remember it differently.
No,
you know,
no.
that really, really, you know, wasn't my style. I just wanted to kind of let my actions speak for themselves, and hopefully people were inspired by that. And I think all of us have been watching the Last Dance for the last few weeks, the Michael Jordan documentary. Yeah. And I think there was one thing that he said that really summed it up beautifully, and it speaks a lot to the element. A really critical element that I think is important in the leader is that, you know, he said, I never asked anyone to do anything that I wasn't willing to do myself. And, you know, I think as a leader, that's so important. And that's, you know, that's really how I try to lead today, really, just, you know, by example. You know, don't be afraid to do the hard stuff, and you know, work hard. It's so simple as that.
Yeah, no, I think you did all that and then some. And I think one thing too that like stood out to me just thinking is we would just play open gym. And I remember being like, you know, nowadays we want our kids to play open gym for conditioning. And when we played open gym back then, like you were like the open gym queen. Like we were getting conditioning
business,
in.
yeah.
It was business.
White squad, you're in the gym, yeah. Yeah.
I remember being like, oh, this isn't like just open. This is like open gym. Like
yeah,
we're going.
Open.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I would even ask like some of our, you know, like Ashley Cam, she was, one of our helpers. I think I would even ask her to like come in and keep score and, I mean, it was serious business.
Serious, but I love that. I mean, I love that about you, because the second you would step on, it was business, and that's what it's what it should be. And it was fun. We had fun, but it was like, okay, this is all right. This is serious. This is serious. And I mean, I wish we had more of that today. Because it isn't really like that. But yeah, no, I echo all that stuff you said. I think you're amazing. So
you should step back on the court, Michelle. Jody, do you put Michelle to work?
Cam, I have not been on
Jenna
the court.
Too, maybe.
No, Jenna can still. I haven't been on the court since I was pregnant. Like, I need
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I need to do something, but no. No.
Just shoot everyone out of the gym.
Because I was just going to say.
Yeah, I'm sure. Eyes closed. I'm sure of that.
No,
one line to the other. It
sometimes is quite embarrassing, because we'll do some sort of a shooting thing and she's just up there dinking around and doesn't miss, and I'm just like, the girl hasn't touched a ball in ages, really. Yeah. And we got kids that just can't find the ball, or find the rim, I should say. So.
I remember she was absolutely lights out.
Yeah, it can be frustrating actually watching Michelle shoot. Just like, can we just recruit a kid like that?
Oh man,
you'll find them.
Yes.
Okay, Cameo. So talking about just the type of leader that you were, and like, I think Jody and Michelle would both agree that is the type of player that you want in your program. What advice would you give to our current UW players, and what would you say, just knowing your work ethic and how you were able to so humbly lead? Like, what would you say to our current girls?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, because each person's experience is very, very different. I mean, I know even for me, there was moments of frustration. I would doubt myself, or even sometimes where I wasn't sure if my teammates would accept me taking on that leadership role, being vocal, were they not gonna, accept me, being really tough in open gym and making it a serious drill. So, I mean, maybe some of those things, crept in a player's mind, but I would just say, take the initiative. If you know that, you can inspire something that will make your teammates better, don't wait, take the initiative, get after it. And I think one thing that I always really thought about is, I never left anything to chance. I always wanted to give 150%, because I knew that I would not feel good if, whether we won or lost, it was important for me to always give 150%, because at the end of the day, that's the effort that you can control. And, your teammates will follow along. So, I mean, I would just, I really, to summarize, I would say, work hard, take a leadership role if you feel inspired to do so. I mean, you don't have to be like officially a team captain to be a leader. I mean, all of our girls on the team, had their own leadership role in some capacity. So I think just, figure out your role and, do what you can to make your team better.
Love that.
Love it.
Yeah. We kind of already touched on this one a little bit, so I'll skip to the next one, Cam. But, recruiting is such a crucial part of what we do. I mean, some people will say it's like the lifeline, right? And nowadays it's a lot different, than when you went through the recruiting process. But, maybe give us a few little nuggets or something that you would say to future recruits that might watch this, and kind of just why UW again, and why this place is so special.
Yeah, I mean, I think now, more than ever, it's really important to surround yourself with the right people. And I think it's very easy, especially nowadays, there's so much influence from from social media, from, I don't know, maybe parents or friends, that you can kind of get lost in what you actually really want for yourself. So I would say, number one, it starts with surrounding yourself with the right people. Connect with people that you can trust, and it doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest name or the team with the biggest wins, or all of those things will follow if you go with a group that you really trust, that has your best interest at heart, and you know that you can make an impact. And again, I mean, I've been out of this kind of recruiting game for years. I mean, I was recruited in like the early 2000s, so I'm sure it has nothing to do. I mean, I don't even know how you can manage nowadays with social media, and I can imagine that's a big issue, not only for coaches to deal with, but also for players, because now all of a sudden everyone's posting everything on social media, and you really have to watch what you're posting, because you have to remember soon you're not only going to be representing yourself, but you're going to be representing a program. So I mean, that's also the advice that I would give as well, is just be very mindful of what you put out there. It's super important. And I mean, I know all of you guys, so I know that UW has given all of their trust to you guys, building up the program. You guys are all wonderful people. So any girls that look to you for advice, or look to you for a potential spot on the roster, I know that they will definitely be in good hands. And for me, like I said, when I chose UW, it had nothing to do with the Elite Eight appearance they had a few years back, or their record, or it had everything to do with the people. So I think having good connections, trusting the people, and having a good feeling is the number one thing for any recruit.
Yeah.
Sound advice.
I know.
Yeah.
Timeless. It doesn't matter what period you're being recruited.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think these kids have a very, very tough job nowadays, to be very, very honest. I mean, I think Facebook had just started when I was almost graduating. So I'm sure it's just a completely different reality for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So our kind of wrap up question, which kind of brings us full circle from your oh shoot freshman moment, but what would you say finally to our 3 incoming freshmen? We have 4. We have 3 freshmen and then a transfer, so we have 4 incomers. What would you say to them who they're just starting their UW journey?
I mean, well, number one, I know that you're in good hands, so congratulations on a great decision. And number 2, coming in as a freshman myself, as I mentioned before, I had no clue what to expect. So I think it's really important that you look to your upperclassmen or people that you find to be great role models. Ask them questions, lean on them for advice, follow their lead in practice, in the weight room, in conditioning, and really start to think about the type of student athlete you will be, because it's a really, really serious job. You're going to have moments where you're not sure where to turn. You're going to have moments when you're frustrated, but you're going to have wonderful moments with your teammates where you're happy, and you're so happy to be where you're at. And just take all of those moments and use them, because take the good with the bad. It's all going to become a really formative experience for you your entire career. So enjoy it, take it in, and you're a student athlete, and student comes before athlete for a reason. So make sure you also take that very seriously as well, because of course that matters too, right? If you don't get it done in the classroom, you're not going to play in the games. So that's a really important point as well. But work hard, have fun. Know the difficult moments will not last forever, and just control your effort. Do what you can.